I'm totally afraid. I'm afraid of everything. I'm afraid of losing. I'm afraid of being humiliated. But I'm totally confident. The closer I get to the ring, the more confidence I get. The closer, I'm more confident.
The new definition of confidence. Confidence is the willingness to try.
My confidence comes from both my faith and in the fact that I keep promises I make to myself.
Borrow confidence from the past.
Confidence.
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 Hi, Revathi.
Hi.
Is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes.
Revathi.
Yes. It's like
Okay.
Revathi.
Revathi.
Yes. Revathi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Sorry about that. How has everything been?
Yes, I'm from India, so everything is good. So business are they are starting small businesses. So
Okay.
yeah.
Because of COVID, they had been slowing them down?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
From today they are opening restaurants, shopping malls.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. So what do you do?
Like I completed my masters. I worked I did my masters in USA from Oklahoma State University, and after that I worked at AMD at Austin.
In Austin.
Yes, AMD Austin.
Oh wow.
I also came to UT Austin. I got a job opportunity at Austin, but due to some visa issues, I didn't join there.
That's awesome. That's so exciting. So where are you at in terms of your application process?
But first I'm learning the process. I'm new to this, so that's why yeah, I'm learning what are the things I need from my end.
Okay. Yeah. So do you know where the website is, and
yes,
have you seen all of that? And
I also attended
I
also attended one of your webinar, but due to some technical issues, I got disconnected.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. You mentioned it had to do with rain, right?
Yes,
or bad weather.
Yes, due to bad weather, we had power cut. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, so tell me, what questions do you have for me? I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
First, I want to learn. I want to learn from your experience. Can you share?
Yeah. So, a little bit about me. I was working in New York. I'm originally from New York, and I was working in Manhattan prior to business school doing pharmaceutical advertising. Specifically, was doing project management.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, that's me. Let me just turn that off. So I was doing pharmaceutical advertising, really enjoying it. And then I ended up really thinking that I wanted to go back to school for something. And I wanted to go to do human capital consulting. So I looked at all different schools. I really wanted to go to a top 20 business school. That was very important to me. And so I looked into all of the different programs and was really thinking that, I wanted to do human capital consulting. So I made that my main focus career-wise. Where could I get the most opportunity? And really fell in love with Mccombs, really enjoyed the people that I had spoken with. Everyone, there's definitely a sense of community in terms of helping each other up. I've especially noticed that during times of COVID. So, the market has been volatile. Things have been quite crazy. A lot of my classmates have had a lot of things happening to their offers. And so what does that mean? It means that a lot of the students have been willing to go into their personal networks to help each other source projects and source things. So that's been that's been awesome to see.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, you said you worked in a pharmaceutical industry. How was that work experience?
Yeah, so I was doing project management, and my role was mainly to look at bridging the gap between the creative team who were developing the products and the account team who were selling the work, and making sure that everything was on time, delivered on time and within budget. And I also worked with the budgets and made sure that we were delivering projects within our scope of work. So that's kind of the work I was doing in project management. And now I'm going into human capital consulting. I have an internship with Deloitte that was unfortunately pretty much canceled. They made it into 2 weeks because of everything that's happening. And so I have sourced some other projects for myself. So I'll be doing some research projects, one with Whole Foods, one with Uber. So those are some of the things that I'm working on with a professor. But I will be working full time when I graduate. They offered us full-time jobs, which is so incredible. So I'll be working full time for Deloitte Human Capital when I graduate.
Oh, nice.
And doing consulting, particularly around potentially tech companies and all different sorts of projects, but potentially change management or organizational design projects, those sorts of things. So yeah, that's kind of about my experience.
What are the challenges you faced as a project manager?
As a project manager, I faced a lot of challenges with dealing with different personalities. And sorry, you can't see it because I have a background on, but my cat just jumped on. So I have, dealing with different personalities, especially at people at different levels, that was something that was very challenging, always. And then, there being a mismatch between what the clients are looking for and what, we're able to deliver. That was always a challenge too. So making sure we were communicating that scope very clearly so that everyone was on the same page was important.
Yes. Do you have any team members to work with? How was that experience?
Yeah, worked in a team environment that was really important to the success of the projects. It was really important that we all helped each other and work together, which is something that we do in business school too. So the way that the business school at Mccombs works is the entire class is divided into 4 cohorts of students. And then within that, there's about teams of 5 people. And there's always 1 international student per team. And those teammates work through case studies together and work through the curriculum of the core together. And that's awesome. That's a way for us to get to know each other and work together and help each other, because the study teams are comprised of different people from all different backgrounds. Yeah. What about your work experience? What have you been doing? So you worked at...
Yes, I worked at AMD as a software developer. So.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. How long were you at AMD? Are you still working for them?
No. I came to India recently. So.
Okay.
I worked there for almost 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I love Austin because that is my first place. I got a job and
yeah. So what are you doing in India right now?
Right now I'm not doing any formal job. I'm thinking of doing any a freelance work, starting. So that's my mindset right now. So
nice.
I don't want to take a formal job because I don't have that through 3 years of work experience. I got to know about myself. I'm not loving this much. So.
Yeah, making sure it's the right fit.
Yes. And you said you want to get into top 20 college, a university, business school. So how you chose this?
How did I choose?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of a personal story that I'll share. My boyfriend was going to UNC Chapel Hill, Keenan Flagler School of Business, and I really wanted to go there too because we were doing long distance and we wanted to be together. So I had applied to 8 schools and had gotten into UNC, was planning on going there, put down a deposit, And then I went and visited Mccombs, and I really had a great conversation and just had such a great experience on my campus visit that I decided that it would make more sense for me to go there. And my boyfriend and I are still together and everything's okay. And it worked out. He ended up moving to Austin. But yeah, it was a very difficult decision, especially considering there's a lot of things that end up making the school seem similar. You know, like the business background is something that you can learn, you know, in a lot of different places. But I think that how I made my decision was about the community aspect to it. Like when I went in my visit, there were Mccombs ambassadors who were like in the office, and one of them spent 2 hours with me unannounced, just like talking to me about, you know, my decision and if I should come to Mccombs and all of that. So it was very, like, I mean, it was difficult for me to make the decision in the end, but it ended up working out, and I'm really glad that I chose Mccombs, because I think that the biggest reason for me was my career. And
Yes.
I wanted to work for Deloitte or PwC, and Mccombs had the strongest relationships with
Okay.
those firms.
Oh, you did
And
your
that,
research before.
oh yeah, I knew exactly who I wanted to work for, and that was my end game. And so because of that, I made my determination based on statistical like research of how many people they placed in those positions.
Awesome. Like you did
Because
like
that was,
reverse engineering.
yes, that was all about, because it was all about my return on investment. And I wanted to make sure that I was going to get the career that I was looking for investing in this program. And I think that, you know, they were honest with me about the chances.
Oh,
and
okay.
they weren't very high.
Okay.
But what I realized was that they would be a lot lower at other places.
Oh, okay. You compared with all other
So I
universities.
compared with all of the other universities that I was looking at.
Okay.
And because I knew I wanted to do, you know, human capital consulting, I was very specific about it. What about you? What are you interested?
Like I'm interested in entrepreneur side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So Mccombs has the Texas Venture Labs. I would look into it on the website. They partner with different nonprofit or different startups in the Austin community.
Okay.
So if you have an idea, you can bring it to the Texas Venture Labs, and you can work with all different people that are higher in their career that can give you advice, and that sort of thing.
I also follow some of the like entrepreneurs on the YouTube channels so that I can learn from their experiences, and I also talk to people like so that I can learn from their experiences.
Yeah.
And you said you want to like go into only 2 companies. Like you are very specific. Like why?
Yeah. So that's a great question. In consulting, for the human capital practice that I was interested in, those are the firms that I was allowed to specialize when I moved in as a senior associate as a MBA grad. So other firms like McKinsey or BCG or Bain or, you know, EY, like all different firms, you have to be a generalist when you come in.
Okay.
And Deloitte and PwC were the 2 firms that would allow me to specify what I was interested in, so I could immediately start working on it when I graduated.
Okay. So you'll be like an experienced. You'll be joined as an experienced person.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that I was able to do the research beforehand to realize that those were the firms that I was targeting.
Okay. And
are you interested in working for any specific company?
And not.
Or
really.
you want? No.
No.
Okay.
Like, what you learn in your specialization? What are the key aspects you learn from that specialization?
The concentration.
Yes, concentration.
So I think that my concentration was officially management in the beginning, but Mccombs does not require concentrations. They're not mandatory. They're mainly used as a guide to, like, if you're interested in doing a specific line of work, you could follow the path that they suggest.
Okay.
And, you know, use those and take those classes, but it's not something that will ever be on your transcript or on your diploma.
Okay. So
it's more of like a informal means of sharing like how to get to the path or the classes that most people have taken.
Okay. Like the content you learn from that school will take you to that path. So not the certificate. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Like, can you share your profile? Like how you got into, like what made you to come to Texas? Like Mccombs. What is your profile?
So I actually don't really know off the top of my head like my statistics, but I will say that Texas Mccombs really looks at the applicant as a holistic picture. Okay. It's not just about your undergrad GPA. It's not just about your GMAT scores or about your work experience. They really look at everything. Your essays, your interviews. So I would not say to hyper focus on one thing. Make sure that you're kind of diversifying what you're focusing on. And if you're interested in knowing about the student profiles, you can go to our website and click student. I think there's a way to click student profiles. And my recommendation is to not focus on the mean, but to focus on the middle 80% range. Because if you look at the mean, it looks a little bit more scary. Okay. And the middle 80% looks a lot more attainable. And so, you know, I would just try and focus on getting in that range because, you know, that's where the bulk of the class sits, not where the middle is.
Like I went through some of the blog posts on the website. Like I don't know about the student profile thing, but I'll definitely go through that.
Yeah. And I would make sure that you're looking at that middle range on the right side because it's just a lot less scary.
Yeah, okay. Like you mentioned about like essay, like can you share like what are the things we need to put in an essay? Because it's like a statement of purpose, right? Essay means.
I think so. I think it's on the website. I'm not exactly certain if they've changed it or not, so I don't want to speak on it. Okay. But also I think that there's an option to do a video. Okay. Where you don't have to necessarily, like, you can talk about yourself and show your personality. Nice. And that is an option as well. You don't have to do that. Okay. I think that I did the essay and not the video. I was a little shy, but most of my classmates did the video. Okay.
And like what you have learned, you were you completed first year, right?
Yes.
So like what you have learned, like a 1 year at Texas Mccombs?
Oh, I've learned so much. But I think that it's more so, you know, the soft skills of like working with teammates and navigating difficult challenges with other people together than it was so about, you know, finance and amortizing loans. And, but I also learned a lot about that too. So so far I've taken accounting, finance, statistics, microeconomics, operations, marketing, leading people in organizations. Then I took this in the spring. I took valuation and I've taken so many classes, investing in philanthropy, negotiation. I took people analytics and I took, what other classes did I take? Performance management and control and macroeconomics. So really just like in a year, I've taken so many classes. The way that the program works is they break out the first semester into quarters for your first year. So you have the option so you can take more core classes up front so that you have the opportunity to take more elective classes than other programs.
Okay.
So you get a full extra semester more of elective classes that are more focused on what you're interested in your career.
Mm-hmm. Like a core classes means like for all the specializations, like about
yes,
so
everyone has to take them.
Okay. How many subjects, like a core subjects? Is that?
So it's finance, accounting, statistics, microeconomics, operations, marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's flex core. So they give you a couple of options on different types of classes you can take. But you have to take a certain number of quant ones and a certain number of like human capital classes. So analysis of markets is one, valuation is one, people analytics, performance management and control, macroeconomics, all of those are also flex core classes. So the core, the full core, is customizable too.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The ones I mentioned in the beginning are mandatory and everyone has to take them. Like even CPAs and accountants have to take those classes.
Okay.
You know, even accounting. But yeah, and it's cool because there are people from all different levels and walks of life in each class. So for example, if we're taking a class in accounting with CPAs, they end up being somewhat experts in the class and they can really help the other students when they're struggling with extra help.
Nice. Like how they evaluate, like how they give you grade. Can you explain? Can you take one subject and explain?
Okay, so it depends on the class.
Okay.
It's different for each class and each professor does it differently. Our entire course, like both 2 years are, every class is graded on a curve. Okay. So the majority do pass. And what else can I share? It really depends on the class. Like it could be, you know, majority. I had a class last semester that 70% of the class was based on the final exam, and 30% was based on one specialty quiz. But I also had another class that did case analysis and, you know, broke it up like 20% for each case analysis and then, you know, whatever percentage on the final exam or the final project. Some classes don't have a final exam. They'll have like a final group project instead.
Okay. And you said you applied to 8 universities, right? So like how you chose that 8 universities based on your profile?
Yeah, I kind of took an approach of the schools that I was interested in terms of career-wise.
Okay.
I kind of diversified my, you know, the schools that I chose. So I chose schools that I definitely was going to get into, ones that were a little bit harder, but like attainable, and then definitely more reach schools.
Okay. It's like a high risk, moderate, and low risk.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like, have you participated, because like in MBA, you'll participate in different extracurricular activities, like in 1 year, what you did and what you achieved?
I am currently on the board for GWIB, Graduate Women in Business.
Okay.
And I work as a VP for corporate partnerships, which has been very difficult recently because no one's giving money right now. And I also am involved in MAC, so I talk to a lot of prospective students like you. I actually do a lot of interviewing for the school, so I'll interview students for the program. I was involved in a case competition, a national human capital case competition that was hosted at Vanderbilt University. in Nashville, which was super fun. And our team actually won first place, which was very cool. Great experience.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I also did an MBA Plus project, which is like a consulting project.
Okay.
That's offered. I would also suggest looking into that on the website. It's a pretty unique aspect of Mccombs. And I did that project with Deloitte Human Capital. And that kind of helped me.
Yes.
That helped me show them that I was going to be, you know, a person that they would want to hire and give an offer to.
Awesome. And like,
so kind of like prove myself.
Yes. And like you said, you got an internship at Deloitte. Like, can you share that experience?
So, you know, it works in all different ways for different industries in terms of recruiting efforts. For consulting, it happens earlier in the year. For entrepreneurship or working with startups, that happens closer in the spring. But it's more so, you know, it's different for each industry. So for me, for consulting, I didn't even have to leave campus because all of the companies came to campus and did all of their networking, you know, across from Rolling Hall, which is in my background, in Rolling Hall on the 5th floor. And yeah, so I really didn't have to leave campus. Whereas a lot of the startup work and internships happen so that you have to really kind of, like, the career network is very supportive at Mccombs, but there are companies that aren't big enough to come to campus. Like, it doesn't make sense for them to invest the money into that. So you kind of have to seek them out a little bit more. So the smaller companies you might have to do that for. But for tech, for example, like Dell is one of the largest they hire the most students. I think Dell and Deloitte go back and forth on how many students they end up hiring per summer on the max amount of students. And the way that, you know, technology works is very similar, is that a lot of the companies come to campus. We interview on the 5th floor of Rolling Hall. There's an interview suite. So you really don't have to leave campus to get a job.
Like, can you share that? Like, you said you got an opportunity, but it got canceled. So like, how was the interview process?
Yep. So for me personally, the interview process was you know, I applied. In consulting, it's really all about your network. So all of the folks that I was, like, you know, sending my application to, I knew on a personal level. So they weren't surprised that they were going to get my resume and my cover letter for an application. I had definitely expressed to them, like, all of the companies that I applied to, like, made personal relationships with them. So they knew to look out for me when it was coming. That's
how
all.
Have you made that relationship? Like, is it through LinkedIn or like?
No. So once I came to campus, I had my email address, and I would just reach out to people through email and ask them. And then, you know, it started with the second years who had interned previously the previous summer before. And then those interns introduced me to 2019 graduates. And then, you know, from there, the 2019 graduates who were full-time kind of like send you out into the network and introduce you to people. And I would always, at the end of the conversation, ask, is there anyone else that you think I should speak to? And they would, you know, pass me along to someone else, and I would have another conversation. And that's how I really built my network. But in terms of the recruiting process and the interview process, I had one screener round. I had one interview on campus, and it was both behavioral and case interviews. And then I had a second round that first round was at Mccombs with only Mccombs students as the people who were interviewing. I think there were 6. And then for that position. And then for that position, two of us moved on to the final round in Georgia, in Atlanta. And then we interviewed in Atlanta with, you know, on a national basis. So there were people from all different schools that were interviewing that weekend.
Oh, okay.
And that was also behavioral and case interviews.
So it's all about like your resume, your experiences, like.
Mm-hmm. In the interview, it was sharing my experiences, my previous work experience, the experience that I've had in school. So like talking about the work that I did on the MBA Plus project that I worked on, the case competition. And then the case prep, the case interview, I had prepped with some of my classmates, the second years, who had prepared us for the case interviews.
Okay.
So yeah.
And you mentioned about MBA Plus, and like I also learned that there is an opportunity to go to different country for one semester, like exchange semester.
That's not MBA Plus, but that's called Global Connections.
Oh, okay.
And there's a class component to it, so you can travel for 10 days with your class, and you can, you know, learn about a specific topic in that country. One of the ones that I want to do is to India. So next year I'm trying to come to India. And, you know, some of my classmates have gone to Denmark, Copenhagen. Some of my classmates have gone to China and Southeast Asia, Africa. So it really depends. There's all different types of offerings. And there's usually a class component to it. So you learn about the country, you learn about what you're going to work on, and then you go to that country and you kind of see your project through, which is cool.
And like it is not like about the MBA, it is about like a COVID situation. You got like so many days, right? Like what you did, like have you learned any new skills or?
So, you know, post-COVID, all of our classes were virtual. So it was honestly somewhat tiring to be online all the time. I think I had like 40 hours of scheduled Zoom time a week. And so that was a lot.
Yes, definitely.
And so when I was doing the classes, it was really focused on, you know, just getting through the classes and learning as much as I could in that time. But, you know, after that, I did some personal work as well. I baked a lot and spent time with my boyfriend and, yeah, you know, chatted with my family virtually.
Nice. Like you said, you like what about funding? Have you have you taken any education loan or?
Yep. So there's loan opportunities that the finance team can help with. In terms of scholarships, they don't really give out scholarships at Mccombs. However, there's all different scholarship opportunities that you can have once you're at Mccombs, and so you can apply to them.
Okay.
But generally speaking, it's more about financial aid and loans than it is about like grants and scholarships.
Okay. So you took it at the campus, or you took it from like outside, from the bank?
From the campus.
Oh, okay.
The school helps through that.
Okay. Yeah. Like these are the questions I have. Like,
yeah.
Like, can you share like if anything missing? Like, do you want to share?
No, nothing really specific. I would just say like try and, you know, check out the website and see what we offer and make sure that you feel like it's a good fit. Are you applying for fall 2021?
Like thinking, but yeah. But first I'm like learning. So this year I'm learning about schools and the programs.
And have you taken the GMAT yet?
No, not yet.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that, you know, that's a big barrier that a lot of people feel like, you know, is tough. And so Yes, the schools are very important, but I would also urge you to try and, think about the other big milestones in the application process. So think about how you're going to frame your application essays. What do you want to get out of business school? Really try and figure out the why behind your applications. And I think that will go a long way.
Because like we spend so much of money, right? So
it's really important.
Yeah.
The school also is making an investment on you as an applicant. So they want to make sure that when you graduate, you know what you want.
Yes.
However, I will say that not everyone who said on their, application they wanted to do something totally did it. You're not bound to anything that you write on your application, so don't worry about that. It's more so just them like making sure that you're, passionate about something and that you know what you want to do.
Yes. Like, do you have that clarity? How you got that clarity? Yes, this is the time I need to go to business school.
Well, my job was kind of plateauing in terms of I saw what my career trajectory was, and I wasn't exactly thrilled with it.
Okay.
And I knew I wanted to go to school in a master's program, but I didn't know which one, which program. And then I found myself being more interested in human capital consulting, just based on readings. And I've always been interested in the psychology behind it. And so I knew that that's what I wanted to do, my end goal. And so I was looking at all of the job descriptions, and a lot of them said MBA, or they said another one was industrial organizational psychology master's degree. And so between those two programs, I was more interested in getting the foundational business background. So I ended up going with the MBA. That's kind of how I decided to go for an MBA.
And have you taken any psychology classes?
I did in undergrad, and I enjoyed it. But I thought that, there was a chance that I wasn't going to like human capital consulting. And there still is a chance. But because I have an MBA, I'll be able to pivot if I decide that I don't like that industry. Whereas if I had gotten a psychology degree, it would have been very specific. And I didn't know for sure. So I wanted to try and, again, diversify and see if I could figure out how I could figure out a way to maybe do human capital consulting, but then also something else if I didn't like it.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes,
yeah,
of course.
Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Have a great rest of your day. And you have my email. Feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a difference. I want to do it and I want to be a rock star, right? And that's where you influence people. I want to do it, but I also want to be the most popular. And so then that person's like, oh, I want to be him, so I guess I'll be nice. I want to literally take people who have DNA that's kind of nice and make them more nice